those attendees who are present, hopefully looking at a more familiar screen to you, the detailed search page of your NavicaMLS account. Because this is where you want to get started. This is where you want to access your TransactionDesk account to get logged in. We do have generic login pages, but you certainly want to start from here. You want to start from here to get your TransactionDesk account created and populated with all of your personal detail, contact information, office, and so forth. And how do you do that? Well, from the detailed search section, from that left-hand column, maintenance, detailed search, we clicked on detailed search. Within the links here, search, quick search, search by MLS, hot sheet, Instanet. This is the link, what we call your single sign-on link. You click here to be seamlessly logged in to your TransactionDesk account. There's no requirements for additional usernames or passwords. You basically already provided that. Accessing your NavicaMLS account, you've proven yourself as an active member of the MLS and board, so you have access to your TransactionDesk account as well. Single sign-on, one click to log directly into your new member benefit, your new TransactionDesk account. Single sign-on. When you click there the first time, NavicaMLS is going to pass us all of your account information from the NavicaMLS account, your name, your email address, your contact phone numbers, the office that you are associated with. All of these features are delivered to us by Navica during that first login process. So as I feign this click, I'm going to pretend to click here, click, and we are going to go through the steps now to log in for that first time. When you log in, when you click that Instanet link for the first time, you're going to start the login process to populate your new account with your NavicaMLS information and go through what we call here the pre-flight system check. There are no required software downloads, but there are internet browsing requirements. So you want to make sure that you're using supported browser and operating system combinations. And this is what we're going to talk about now. The first one, though, is pop-up blocker. You want to allow pop-ups from TransactionDesk. That's why I have that little pop-up there. Pop-ups are really for save prompts, for calendar icons, and for system values that you want to have access to by allowing pop-up. The first time that you log into TransactionDesk, most likely you're going to have a pop-up blocker set up, and it's going to suppress any pop-ups from TransactionDesk. So please do allow those pop-ups from TransactionDesk. I'm going to go ahead and close that pop-up message. And I have a bunch of green checks here on the left-hand side of this pre-flight. That's because I've set up my computer. I've done this demonstration a few times, and my computer is set up and browsing correctly. If you haven't, or when you don't, you're going to get some red X's in there. When you receive red X's, you will also receive instructions on how to take corrective actions. Top of the screen there, browser and OS. For PCs, you know, we officially support, you're probably going to get the best browsing compatibility using either Internet Explorer or Firefox. When you're using a Windows PC, you want to use either Internet Explorer or Firefox. We do support Chrome browser for PC, but it functions a little bit differently in a non-PDF environment. So Internet Explorer and Firefox for PC. We are also Mac compatible. So if you are a Mac user, we do support Safari browser for Mac. And Mac devices, not only laptops and desktops, but also the tablets, the iPads, the iPad 2s, the iPad 3s that are coming out. We are going to support all those Mac devices when using Safari browser. So you want to make sure you're using Safari browser when logging in from a Mac. So pre-flight system check, this is just going to happen the first time that you log in. It's just going to make sure that your computer is set up with those browsing functions. And again, I have a bunch of green checks. When you're logging in for that first time, when you receive any red X's there, you will receive instructions on how to take corrective actions. Otherwise, just going to click here. I'm in the top third of the page, right-hand side, clicking here to continue. Pardon my mouse for a second. The first time that you log in, you're also going to be required to agree to the terms of service. So we want to read through it, want to familiarize yourself with it. Really, I think ultimately it boils down to just not reselling our product, but certainly read through it, familiarize yourself with it, but eventually accept that terms of service so that you can move forward. Bottom third of the screen, right-hand side, continue into your TransactionDesk account. Again, that's just the first step, the first time that you log in. Subsequent logins, you'll be brought right to this home screen. You'll have logged in, you'll have run through the pre-flight, you'll have accepted the terms of service. So subsequent logins, you will come right here to the TransactionDesk Lite view. The Lite view, and that's what we're going to focus on today, essentials, right? Getting logged into your TransactionDesk account, that's essential. Knowing how to access it through NavicaMLS and the Instanet link, that is an essential feature of your new member benefit, getting logged in and accessing. That's what we're going to focus on today, those essentials. Next essential feature that we're going to focus on quickly is the Forms library view. I'm in the middle third of the screen, left-hand side, Forms. When I click here, it's to access what I refer to as the Form library view. It's all the forms that we have. In this case, I have 68 forms from Lee County and Alabama Association, forms online and fillable that I can type up and deliver outbound. But that's InstanetForms, online forms library. We were provided the forms were provided to us by Lee County and Alabama Association. They provided us their forms. We programmed and posted them so you can access and type them up online. We offer custom forms programming, so if your office has custom office forms, we can program and post them so you can see your custom office forms along with the other state and association forms in your forms library. Otherwise, the library view is one form at a time. It's in alphabetical order, so we can search for forms by alphabetically or by unique identifier. We can also filter our forms by folders. And I want to start pointing out these drop-down menus. These little upside-down triangles represent menus. When we click on those triangles, it's going to yield these menus, and it is an essential feature of TransactionDesk that I'm going to try to focus on and illustrate as we go through this demonstration. These drop-down menus is where you will find 85% of the functions within your TransactionDesk account will be found within these drop-down menus. So this drop-down menu allows us to filter the 68 forms by the different folders that they're contained in. So otherwise, it's a main folder, alphabetical 68 forms. If we just want to see the Alabama forms or the LCAR forms, we can decide how we want to filter those forms. Again, Forms Library View. Probably the essential feature to me here is the opportunity to print blank forms. So form name, buyer agency agreement, middle third of the screen, sliding over to the right-hand side, we can print this blank form. Clicking on that blue icon with the printer icon on it, print blank, it's going to give me access to this form as a PDF document so that I can print this form to paper. I can take those steps to print the form out and handwrite, take appropriate steps to print it to paper. I think it's essential. You always want to know how you can make that quick print. If you're meeting with a client, they're walking into the office in 2 minutes and you want to print it out and start filling it out by hand. So you have that option to print blank forms. I'm going to return to the forms library there by clicking here on the top third of the screen. Return to forms, clicking that link to go back to that library view. Pardon my mouse just for a second. We can also type up the form first. We can create new. I'm still in the middle third, right-hand side. That second blue icon is called Create New. Clicking here will actually launch into Forms Editor so that I can type up the form, so that I can prepare it first, type it up, and then email it, fax it, print it, Authentisign, sign it. But this is working with one form at a time. I don't think it's an essential. I think printing it's essential, but I want to show you Forms Editor when working with transactions. We think working with transaction files is more essential than working from the Forms library view one form at a time, because TransactionDesk allows you to replace manila folders, and folders are filled with forms and documents and transaction content, and that's what we really want to focus on. But The forms library view that we're looking at now, print blank forms, type up individual forms from the library view. The limitation is that you're working with one form at a time. You're starting from scratch on each form. You're typing up all the fillable fields. So the options are there within the form library view. But we really think we're going to get the highest and best use out of transaction file. So as I go back to the top left-hand corner of the screen, top third left-hand side, clicking on that home to leave the library view and come back to the home link. Home link to show forms, documents, transactions, and contacts, because what we want to look at now is transactions. I'm going to skip that over the documents there and click on transactions. Talk about the essentials of getting started with your TransactionDesk account. Getting logged in, essential. How to print a blank form, essential. How to start and create a new transaction file, I think, is also essential. We are going to look at a file quickly, but I just want to point out the phrase, I would like to. Essential feature within TransactionDesk, I would like to. It has drop-down menu. Every time you see that I would like to phrase, you're going to have a menu of options. We are on the functional page of transactions. What choices, what options do we have within that functional page? I would like to is the drop-down menu of features or choices that we have on this functional page. Create new, delete, or let's look at our transaction file. So I'm going to click on the file name in the middle third of the screen, left-hand side, clicking on the file name to reopen this transaction and hopefully emphasizing to you that, yes, I can continually come back to my transaction file, update it, manage it, and work through that sale process. Because there are 5 main tabs in the Lite view transaction file. Again, still at the top third of the screen, right under the big black font there, Transaction Details page. You can see that tab Details is kind of highlighted or has a darker color shading to it. That's the tab that we're looking at, the details. Address, city, state, zip, subdivision, year built, legal description, list price. All this information we populated from our MLS import. But then we went through and added earnest money and some dates and features like that to the Details tab of our transaction file. The value of adding details to your transaction, they will auto-populate the forms attached to this transaction. So as we go from left to right, Details tabs to Contacts, these are the functional tabs. Details. Contacts is a functional tab where we can add our buyers or sellers, our cooperating agents, ourselves, our broker. All these folks are added as contacts to our transaction file. There's that I would like to phrase again. Essential feature. I would like to. What would I like to do within contacts? Add a new contact, delete an existing contact. There's not always a lot of choices, but there's always a few choices within those drop-down menus. So contacts, a tab of our transaction file that will populate our form fields. So as we add our buyers and sellers and cooperating agents, they will populate our forms, which is the next tab. Forms, online fillable forms, access to the forms library to import forms into our transaction file. Forms functional tab of the transaction. I would like to drop-down menu of choices. The choice that I want to highlight now, and again, here as we go through, auto-populate forms. This is the step to import or populate your form fields with your transactions details, the dates, the contact information. That is the step to populate your forms with your transaction details and contacts. So we can add forms to our transaction file, numbers of forms. We have 4 in there now. We can certainly add more if we needed to. But auto-populate forms is a step that we will take to make sure we populate our forms with our transaction details and contacts. But forms, online and fillable, found in the forms library, to type up online forms, to deliver those typed up forms outbound. Because what you're receiving back is documents. Clicking on that Documents tab. Forms are online and fillable. Type up an online form. Receive back a signed, ratified contract or document. Document, unlimited online document storage, 4 different types of faxing services to manage the documents of your sale process, signed, ratified contracts, home inspections, surveys, all of that content, loan payoff amounts, pre-qualification letters, whatever you're receiving through that sale process, you can fax back into your online transaction file using faxing services to fax back. You can also scan and upload. There's that phrase again, I would like to. There's the choices that we have within the functional tab of documents. The I would like to drop-down choices, upload documents. So perhaps you're scanning, perhaps you scan paper pages to PDF documents, save them on your local computer. Upload them to your online transaction file, make them available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from any internet-enabled device. That is really the power of transactions, and DocBox is that 24-hour-a-day access from any internet-enabled device. Type up and deliver forms, receive back documents. Final tab that we have is history. The history tab will capture all of the activity that takes place in your online transaction file. Time and date stamp when that activity takes place, who completed the action, right out of the box, if you will, using the Lite view, right out of the box, yourself and your sponsoring managing broker have access to your online transaction files. As you progress through the transaction management, if you move over to the Pro view, you will be able to open up your files to participants and share it with business partners or other real estate team members. But history will always capture all of the activity that takes place within your transaction. So that's the quick rundown of a transaction file: details, contacts, forms, and documents. Let's now create a new transaction. So top third of the page, that transactions link, clicking on transactions to go back to that transaction view. Again, the first time that you log in, I think it's going to say 0 saved transactions. So you're just not going to have any here to review, but you're going to say it's going to say 0 saved transactions, and what you're going to want to do, I would like to create a new transaction file. Click on the arrow to go to the next functional step. We're leaving the functional page of transactions. We're going to that next functional page to create a new transaction. The only thing that we're required to do here is to give our transaction a name. So I usually name my transaction files by client name and client type. So in this case, it's going to be Shirley Havenshire is our new client, and she is a listing or a buyer. We're doing a lot of buyers, so maybe we should change up and we'll say she's a single-family residential listing prospect, right? Because in my opinion, you want to start these transaction files at that first substantive conversation when you get that phone duty call or that referral or that ping from your marketing. You want to go online. You want to start that transaction file. You want to start preparing forms and documents and disclosures, typing them up and delivering them outbound. So single-family residential listing prospect, which and everything else from here down is optional. Optional ways to start adding details to our new transaction. Details like the type of transaction that we are going to be working with here. Listing. Do we have any MLS import that we want to use? And I'm hoping that this is going to work. I'm not sure that I need the letters there, but we're going to test this one for now. Let's see if it works. But we can import from the MLS to start our new transaction file in the Lite view. The Pro view allows us to not only start it, but also import it to an existing file. And I will, as we go through the demonstration, we'll talk more about that Pro view and your immediate access to more transaction management services if you choose to access them. But again, start your new transaction files. And you may be saying to yourself, well, it's a new listing. I don't have an MLS ID for that new listing. But quite honestly, that property could have been listed previously. Could be expired, withdrawn, or sold, or other status. You can pull all those different status types into your transaction files. So give it a shot. No harm, no foul trying to pull that content into your transaction file. I'm going to show it just for the demonstration and to show you that integration that we have with your MLS provider. Last step, and we talk about this in follow-up webinar sessions, to import from transaction templates. We talk about how to set up templates to predetermine forms and contracts that you want to add to your new files. So these we kind of go in more in depth to these templates and so forth in follow-up webinar sessions. So otherwise, at this point, when we chose the transaction type of listing, we were selected as a listing agent. We can certainly change that if we are neither or both agents in this situation, but for this example, we'll just stick with that listing agent. We will be added as a contact. Our broker will be added as a contact as we save our transaction file there. Bottom right, bottom third of the page, right-hand side, clicking on Save. Fingers crossed that I typed in that MLS ID correctly because it's going to reach out, and it didn't. Yeah, I think so. I have a feeling all they want to do is remove those letters, and I think we'll be better. So let me type in Shirley again. And that single-family residential listing. Listing. Boom, boom, boom. Whoops, not lease. Listing. There we go. And saving that transaction. Fingers crossed again that this time I got the MLS ID correct, and it is going to populate our transaction file with that property information. Again, because I want to benefit from that property information, I want my forms to be populated with these details: MLS, address, city, state, zip, legal description, even the list price. It might not be the same price, and we can certainly change any of this content as it comes through. Maybe we'll change it. They've done some remodeling. We want to change it to $269 or $279 or whatever the appropriate, whatever that appropriate detail. What don't you see on this page? You will not see any asterisks. There are no required fields. So add the detail that you have, skip the rest. Whatever you feel like you're going to benefit from, add it into your transaction file. Scrolling down the page just to see other information that came across with comments and some dates and information there as well. But these are calendar icons here, these blue ones, and we can click on those blue icons, and by the expiration date there, I'm going to click on that blue icon to launch that calendar. Again, pop-ups. This is why you want to allow pop-ups from TransactionDesk, so that you can benefit from seeing this content. Add in your dates, pull them in from those calendars. If you don't have it now, don't worry. Come back at a later time when that new date is identified, update your file. Moving from the Details tab to Contacts, clicking on that Contacts tab, I'm going to be prompted to save my changes. Anytime you try to leave a functional page without saving changes, you will be prompted to do so if you allow pop-ups from TransactionDesk. So hopefully additional value of adding pop-ups for those save prompts. Pardon me just for a second. Excuse me. All right. Contacts to our file. Now you can see a bunch of contacts came over from our transaction file. We did have some duplicates, but here, this gives me the opportunity to show you that anything that's added to our transaction file can be removed. So I'm going to remove that previous listing agent and broker. I would like to drop down, delete transaction contacts, and click on the go arrow. Yes, I'm removing them, and that is okay with me. Just cleaning up a little bit. I pulled in from MLS detail, and I just need to clean up that content just a little bit. Pardon me just again. All right, thank you for that. So now that we have removed the previous listing agent and broker, now we want to add Shirley to our transaction file. We want to add our contact. I would like to add transaction contact, but again, pointing out these I would like to in these drop-down menus, essential features of your TransactionDesk account. I would like to add a new transaction contact, clicking on the go arrow, and we're going to add a seller type. Contact type, in this case, is a seller. We're going to select seller from that drop-down list. We're going to add Shirley Havenshire as a seller to our transaction file. Does she live in the property? Same as property address? Sure, why not? Do we have any phone numbers, address, city, state? We have that already,
phone numbers. I'll throw a little Austin at you with a little 512 and their email address. All right, so we're adding Shirley to our transaction file, but we also want to save Shirley to our contact database. I'm in the bottom third of the page, left-hand corner, add to my contacts. Because actually two things will happen now. Now that I selected that checkbox, as I slide over to the bottom right corner of the screen, clicking on that Save Diskette, two things are going to happen. Shirley will be added to my transaction file, but she will also be saved to my contact database. If you follow me to the top third of the page, right-hand side, Contacts, Shirley was saved to my contact database. Unlimited storage for prospects and contacts. By adding Shirley to our contacts, we'll be able to access her information from any internet-enabled device. We'll be able to insert her into additional transaction files, Authentisign signings, outbound email or faxes. So getting her into that contact database just saves me steps of having to remember that content. If there are, multiple buyers or sellers, I guess this also brought in these sellers. Let me take them out as well. Don't want two sellers. I guess we could leave two sellers in there. Let's just take them out. Don't want to get any confusion there with the sellers. But you can see the amount of content that really comes over from your MLS import. All that content comes in when we import it from the file. Now, if there was a husband or wife or brother or sister or parent or child, we want to add that second seller contact or that third seller contact. We want to add them in separately. We want to take the steps to add additional or add transaction contacts so that each seller will auto-populate the printed name fields under those signature lines. We want to take that opportunity to add them in separately so that they will each auto-populate printed name fields under signature lines. So let's see if we can get to that point now. Let's go to Forms. We've added some contacts, clicking on the Forms tab. Now we want to import forms into this transaction file. So functional tab of forms, where we're going to go now. I would like to phrase, add new form. We have no forms here, so that's our only option is to add forms to our transaction. Click on that arrow to go to access the forms library. To import or add the forms we'll need for this new seller, this new listing file. Double-clicking on the folder name will expand that, if you will, and then let's just go with the association forms folder to start adding in our exclusive right to sell. We're certainly going to want that one. Selecting the first one. Now I'm going to press and hold, follow me to the top, and now I'm going to press and hold the CTRL key and use the mouse to select multiple forms. So that's the first one. I am not holding down the control key yet. I will let you know when I do that as I scroll down this page. We'll want to select some additional forms here. Seller's net sheet sounds like a good one. We'll add that one. Now I'm pressing and holding the control key. Now I'm selecting the additional form. Let's do the transaction brokerage agreement as well. I'm pressing and holding the control key, and I'm selecting the additional form. One more form. Let's choose the listing codes. Pressing and holding control, selecting the additional form. Go through, add all the forms that you would require for this type of transaction, or at least the ones you know you're going to need now. As I add selected forms, bottom right-hand corner of the screen, add selected forms to our transaction file. This is what we know we're going to need now. And this is where transaction templates really do provide a great benefit, because you can predetermine what forms you want to automatically add to this type of transaction, because you already know what 4 or 5 forms you want to use, right? Every time you have a single-family residential listing, the form set that you use is going to be pretty consistent. Templates, if you follow me to the top third of the screen, right there in the center, templates. When you create templates, you can predetermine those forms. Save yourself time, energy, and effort creating templates. Use templates to start your files. We show how to create those in follow-up webinar sessions. Now that we've added our forms, we've added details and contacts, what do we want to do? Now we want to type up the forms. But before I do, I would like to drop-down menu of choices. We're in the functional tab of forms. The choices that we have, I would like to auto-populate forms. I want to make sure by clicking on that arrow that we're going to populate our forms with details, dates, and contact information, and I'm going to click on OK. That is OK with me. This is the way to map your transaction details and contacts to those corresponding fields in our forms. So let's click now on the exclusive right to sell property listing agreement. I'm going to click on that form name. It's going to launch that form in Forms Editor. This is where you can type up the fillable fields within the online form, to type it up and prepare it for your clients. For their signatures and initials. And what we're going to discuss next is, well, how are you getting those signatures and initials? Are you going to email, fax, or print, or use Authentisign to get digital signatures? These are all options available to you when using TransactionDesk to manage that sale process. So as that form loads up, we'll see that it's been populated with our transaction file information. Whatever we added in our file has populated into our forms. We have a nice column of forms here on the right-hand side, the 4 forms that we've added so far. If you're looking at that list there on the right column, you're saying, oops, well, we forgot that disclosure, or man, I could really use to add that another form. We could do that right here from Forms Editor. We can go to the little transaction drop-down menu. Right there in Forms Editor, transaction, add new form. We can access the forms library view right here from our Forms Editor, so we can add more forms to our transaction file. But if we're good with the list, which I think we are for this demonstration, if we're good with this list, if we want to shrink down this column, get it out of the way, I can click on this minus sign. Will allow me to shrink that window against the right-hand side of the screen. This will give me more visual purchase on the form that I'm actually typing up. So here we are, exclusive right to sell listing agreement, populated with our transaction file information. And just because it's populated doesn't mean we can't change it. If we know that it's Platbook 2365, we can make those changes to our form level. So just because it's populated doesn't mean it's locked in. We can make those adjustments. All of the blue fields are fillable. These all can be typed. I'm in other agreements down here, and I can type or paste to add details to my online form. And I say type or paste because anything that we copy to our computer's clipboard, so to speak, anything that I copy to my computer's clipboard, I can paste to the former contract. So scroll down, see what other fillable fields that we would require here. These are all fillable. All the blue ones are fillable. So let's see if we have any other larger fields that we can use. As I get down here to the bottom, this is why we would want to add our sellers separately, so that they will populate these printed name fields within the former contract. We add them in separately so that they will populate those fields separately. So not that it's all going to fit here, but just to prove a point that anything I copy, I can paste. I can paste that into that fillable field. There are no restrictions from copying and pasting. So take that opportunity. Save yourself redundant typing, redundant data entry by copying and pasting. And completing your online form, type it up. Hopefully this is nothing new for you. Hopefully you've been typing up forms already, and this is just kind of a new editor and with new choices and new features, but otherwise very similar in function. But please go through, type up all of your forms. Let's talk about some of the things that you can do now. Top third of the screen, left-hand column, file drop-down. You can see that we can save our changes. We can save or export. That's kind of what this one is, save to hard drive. It's basically exporting this typed up form as a PDF, exporting it to your computer as a PDF document. We can print it to paper. We can print this typed up form to paper now. You have these additional options, not only Authentisign, which we're going to focus here in about another 2 minutes. We're going to focus on Authentisign to prepare these typed up forms for digital signatures, but you can print them to paper, these typed up forms. You can send them outbound via email or fax. This is actually good opportunities there. And in these cases, sending via email, sending via fax, you are sender in name only, right? It's coming from your online account. It is web-based transaction technologies where you are instructing TransactionDesk to send the email or to send that outbound fax. TransactionDesk completes the action and then notifies you that the action has been completed. You get lots of email notifications as these as it completes these actions for us. But delivery outbound by email, fax, or print, ways to deliver these typed up forms. A couple more features: format, font style, color, and size. You can change that at the document level, or excuse me, at the form level. Any changes that you make here are just to this individual form. There are settings so that you can change the default font style, color, and size, but you can change it at the form level as well. But it's just for the fillable fields. The boilerplate, if you will, that is not changeable. Just the fillable fields, you can change the font style, color, and size. View allows you to zoom in or jump to more pages. If this was more than a one-page doc, you could jump to those additional pages. Transaction that we saw there to add new forms to our file. Insert is refers to clauses so that we can paste standard provisions or standard language into our forms and contracts in those specific sales situations. So along with templates, we discussed clauses in those follow-up sessions, how you can create that content and access it, leverage it, and save yourself time, energy, and effort in your transaction files. Last drop down there is help. Online help is tutorial based. It's screenshots, Captivate videos, and instructions on how to complete specific actions. Live support is tech chat and toll-free dialing. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we offer live support through tech chat, email support, toll-free dialing. So type up your online forms. This is Forms Editor. All the blue fields are fillable to type up and complete all the required and optional fields to prepare or type up these forms. At this point, once I typed up one form, I can go to the next. I'm going to expand that side column again, moving from the listing. Maybe we'll just go to that brokerage agreement, clicking on that next form. Again, willfully abstaining from saving so that you'll see these prompts. You have to allow pop-ups to get these prompts. So yes, I'd like to save my changes before I leave this form and go to that next form. The next form being that transaction brokerage form. I just then want to type up all of the fillable fields within this form. But again, populated with transaction file information, county up there in the top left corner. As I scroll down, I'm not sure there's a bunch more here. Seller is populated. Into this field. Might have to see which party should be populating this field, but we can certainly type our name, or I'll just put my name. It might be my broker's name, but let's just go with Greg Lee County for that. Type it up. Online forms, type up fillable fields, make your changes, updates, complete your forms and contracts. Exiting from form editor, top center, top third, center of the screen, exiting, prompted, allow pop-ups so you get these prompts. Yes, save my changes. Leaving Forms Editor. If you have more questions about Forms Edit Mode, be happy to talk about it, but I think we might have spent a little bit too much time in there already and just want to make sure that we really get to Authentisign and see those features of your member benefit. Because at this point, you've created your file, you've typed up some forms, now you want to prepare them for signatures and initials. You want to add those signatures and initials for your signing participants. So right from here, right from the functional forms tab, make sure we're all centered where we are. We're in the forms tab of our Shirley Havenshire transaction file. And we're just going to go directly to Authentisign, to the top third right-hand corner, Authentisign, because now we've typed up these forms, we want to prepare them for digital signatures. You can deliver them outbound via email, fax, or print, but you can also now prepare them for digital signatures. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create a new signing. I'm going to click on that big blue icon, create new signing. We are going to import from a saved transaction. You can create blank signings, So you're basically just starting from scratch. I'm going to select Shirley and I'm clicking here on Continue. The only difference between creating a blank and importing, as you go through the steps, when you import from a transaction, you'll be prompted with that transaction file detail. Case in point, we have a name for our signing. Now I'm going to update it to call it the listing agreement, because this is a unique signing event, and I want to make sure that I name it as such so that I can recognize the signing event and make sure that when I see this one, I can come back to it, recognize it, identify it, and pick out those requirements. Otherwise, just going to click Next. From functional step of giving it a name, clicking Next to the next functional step of adding our participants. Again, if I was starting from scratch, I would manually add it. In this case, I'm being prompted with our contacts from our transaction file. I'm just going to add Shirley as a signer to our signing. Click here to add contacts. And most of the time you're going to add yourself too. I'm just going to try to. We've got about 15 minutes left here. I just want to move forward here through this with time is of the essence. But anybody that you would require an ink signature on a paper page, add as a participant to get a digital signature on the digital page. So if they are contacts that you need to add who are not in your transaction file, you can click on that blue, green, to add a participant to your signing. First name, middle initial, last name, email address. But what I really wanted to point out here, one, that you can add them manually to your signings, but also that there's different types, a signer type, a reviewer. So a signer has signature or initial requirements. A reviewer has access to review the forms, but they have no signature or initial requirements. Maybe this is your broker or some other party that you want to review your contracts, but not actually have any signature or initial requirements, but access to the contracts and documents. CC only is a person, not a signer, but will receive a final copy of the signed document. So perhaps it's that lender or title officer. You add them as a CC only, so they are immediately emailed a copy of the final signed document. Everybody who participates in the signing gets a final copy. The CC only, that's all they get. Their only participation in the signing is receiving that final copy of the signed document. So add your signing participants. Anybody that you would require an ink signature on a paper page, add as a signing participant to get their digital signature or initial on the digital page. Once you've added your signing participants, clicking Next to go to the next functional step of importing or uploading forms to our signing. So I'm going to choose that exclusive right and the transaction brokerage, and I'm going to add them in. So I'm importing, these are our typed up forms. So from our transaction file, we typed them up, and now we're going to plot signature and initial requirements to get our clients' signatures on these typed up forms. So we can import them from our transaction files, but we can also upload documents from our saved drives. Wherever we have documents saved, we can upload them to our online signing. So PDF documents, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, image files, whatever document that you would require a signature, you can upload it into your online signing. Use that upload a file feature to get your forms, contracts, or really documents. Documents, maybe it's a counteroffer from a cooperating agent. Maybe it's a pre-qualification letter from a loan officer. Maybe it's the loan payoff amount from the mortgage company. Or maybe it's the home inspection from the home inspector. You need to get these signed by your clients. Upload them. They're not in your forms library. You didn't type them up, but you receive them. You have access to them on your desktop computer, your USB thumb drive, wherever you have it saved. Upload it into your online signing. Get your forms and documents into your signing. Once you've added them in from any of these different methods, next to plotting. So next step, next functional step is preparing these forms. We're going to plot where the signatures and initials go. We're going to make sure that we get the appropriate signatures and initials, digital signatures and initials on our forms and contracts. Anywhere that we would require an ink signature or ink initial, we are going to add the digital initial to our, or signature to our online Authentisign signing. Thumbnails in the left-hand column. We got 2 pages here added to our signing. We will go through the thumbnails. I'm just going to go clockwise. Navigation tools to zoom in, zoom out. I prefer the fit width to find that appropriate ratio. Again, here's our typed up form. Now we're going to plot those signature and initials. We do have some drawing tools. I really like the line draw for redactions or doing strikeovers. Use the line draw to do that. So let's show that opportunity. I click to select it to create that line annotation. I go and I plot where I want to drop it. So right there, I'm by type or paste. I'm in that field under paragraph 2. I'm going to click one time. I just click once to plot that line. Then I'm going to grab that corner and drag it across where I would like to redact or strike over that detail within the online form. Make those updates, changes, line annotations. The other one that I really like is the text tool. Again, creates a text annotation, adds a little text box so that you can type or an update or feature within that online Authentisign document. So good opportunity there for strikeovers and to add text. Now again, you don't want to try to type up your whole form using these features, but if you need to make some micro adjustments, if you need to make a little bit of a counter and you're making some changes that you want your client to initial or so forth, you can use those drawing tools accordingly. Continuing to move clockwise, view signing party surely is highlighted, so any initial or signature that I click and hold to drag and drop onto the page will be for Shirley. In instances where you have multiple signing parties, you will highlight the party that you want to drag and drop for. So as you go through, you have that opportunity to select the signing party, highlight them in yellow, and then click and hold to drag and drop. I got a feeling here I got a few initial, I don't know if I'm going to hit them all, but just so you get the point, click and hold to drag and drop. Reading through these previously, it really seems like these are all required signatures or initials. There are optional ones too, so if you want the client to make the choice, we can plot optional initials as well. So let me put one on there, maybe not this spot, but we'll put it in another spot. So I'm going to drop another one here. Anywhere that we would require an ink signature on a paper page, we want to get that digital signature or initial on the digital page. We're clicking and holding to drag and drop those content. So these in here, seller agrees to the following brokerage agreements. And again, not being as familiar with your forms as you are, I don't know if these would be required initials or maybe the optional ones. So just to show you the optional, representing seller as agent, limited consent to dual agency, all these opportunities. So I can even go through all of these and allow the client to choose to accept or decline where they want to plot these optional signatures or initials. So let me just plot 2 of those so we can see how they work. Something to that effect. Because it's really going to allow that signing participant to accept or decline that optional signature. So, but again, I don't know if I'm hitting every one. It looks like there's a couple there. I'm kind of skipping through. Just time is of the essence here. But wherever you would require that seller's initial plotted on the page, wherever we were going to require that seller's signature, we want to plot that on the page as well. Scrolling down, this is where I think we're going to have those signature requirements. We've been adding initials to this point. Now we're going to press, click, and hold to drag and drop that signature block onto the page. So again, we went through, we plotted every place where there's a requirement. Not every place, but everywhere that you have a requirement for initial or signature, you want to drag and drop that block. Put them into place. Nice thing about these blocks is every one of them has what we call a right-click menu. Every one of these blocks has access through a right-click menu. Let's watch my mouse here for a moment. Right now it's a hand. I'm up there by the seller line, type or paste. It's a hand, pointy finger. As I hover on the block itself, you see that changes to a crosshair. Now I'm going to use that most underutilized mouse button, the right mouse click. To right mouse click on that block. I can delete the block. I can add a date stamp to the block. I can add some features or formatting to this date block. I can really do that for any, and maybe I do need to add a date stamp here. although that looks like that's a date stamp for the so again, I can right-click on the date stamp because you know what, I really don't need it, so I'm going to take it back out. It looks like that date is with the listing broker, not with the seller. So if it is a seller, then we should plot it and drop it in there. Let me just plot it and drop it just so you can see it. Add that date stamp, right-clicking on the block, the plot, and we'll drag that over to the date field, something like that. Go through, plot all the required initial and signatures. Wherever you would require ink, get digital. Clicking on next. Clicking on the next step to go to the final step of the preparation, which is the finalize and send. We can go back to any step of the wizard, to signing setup, to adding participants. I'm on the left-hand side of the screen under wizard progress, signing setup, participants, add, prepare. We're on the review and send step because we're reviewing, making sure that we've got the correct content in the signing, making sure that we typed up and spelled our information correctly. We can even customize the outbound email. Authentisign is about to send an invitation to participate. We can customize the subject line of that invitation. We can customize the body of that email message. So we can add those customizations to the outbound email message. Otherwise, we're reviewing. We can go back to any step and add more detail. For our purposes here, we're going to finalize the signing, clicking the big thumbs up. Like any good program, it's not going to take our first click as our final answer because it really is prompting us, hey, this is about to lock down your signing. We're about to deliver the invitation. Are you sure you're done? Are you sure that you have added all your features? Yes. If the answer is yes, finalize and send. If the answer is no, cancel, go back and add content. You will have an opportunity still to reset the signing if you realize that you forgot something. You can reset it, rescind that email invitation, if you will, so you can reset it back to that final step of the wizard. Otherwise, at this point, I'm going to pause my screen here for a second. I'm going to get logged into that email account so we can see that first signing participant. I think that we've got just enough time here to go through and knock these out in the next 5 minutes. So getting logged in, great time for questions. If you have questions, please do type them into the GoToTraining sidebar chat section. We've been reviewing those, trying to work the questions into this online demonstration. We are logging into our email account here. We have received that invitation to participate. Begin showing my screen again. See that top email message. Authentisign again. You could have customized the subject line. You are sender in name only. You show up as the sender, but the email is delivered from do not reply at TransactionDesk.com. I'm going to click on the subject line, obviously, to open the email message. Scrolling down, we can click here, the words that says to launch, or the big blue button. My guess is people are going to click on that big blue button to sign, to start the signing process. Every signing participant, the first time you use Authentisign for participating in the online signing, the first time you're going to review the terms of service and create an Authentisign profile for yourself. That profile consists of your username, which is your email address or the email address for the participant, and a password. Only Authentisign and the participant will know what this password is. They can do password retrievals if they forget, but otherwise just themselves and Authentisign will know. Going through to create more of that profile, they can choose a font style for their signature. As you notice, if you notice, as we were plotting the blocks, they were really just big, they were square blocks with square font. This is where the signing participant gets to choose the font that may best represent their handwritten signature or just how they want their online e-signature to be represented. Because that's essentially what they're doing. Bottom third, right-hand side, I agree that the unique identity and signature I have approved of the electronic representation of my signatures and initials for use when signing using Authentisign. It can be whatever they would like it to be. So confirming and accepting. As the creator of the signing, you've just got an email notification that your signing participant has accessed and authenticated. They are going to participate. They created their profile. You get an email update that that action took place. And now they have opportunity to go through and click to accept the blocks that we placed for them. Very similar look to our preparation page with thumbnails here on the left column, navigation tools to zoom in, zoom out, or find that appropriate ratio. But otherwise, we're going to click the Start Signing button to locate and highlight the first signing block, that Start Signing button here, top right corner of the screen, Start Signing, because Authentisign is going to locate and highlight that first signing block. And we can see it there blinking by our strike over, and we click to accept. Authentisign will locate and highlight the next signing block. The participant clicks to accept. And you can see as they click to accept, it applies the font style, and we click to accept. We have 6 remaining, we have 5 remaining, we have 4 remaining. I'm just going to keep clicking these. We have 3 remaining. Now it brings us to these optional blocks. So we can see the one that is blinking here. This is our optional initial. So Shirley, does she agree to the transaction brokerage? Sure. And I'm going to accept that initial. Does she agree to the limited consent to dual agency? When that one, accept or decline. You know what? I'm going to decline that one. I don't want dual agency. I want to be represented by my agent exclusively. So that block was not plotted. That one was deleted. Let's click the last one, last block there, last signature. Signature font is added. Date stamp is applied to the page. As I scroll up this page again, just to point out, that block was not plotted there. That initial block was not plotted by the limited consensual dual agency. But hopefully you can also notice that once we have clicked to select all the blocks, we have 0 remaining to be clicked. We're still in the signing. We can still reject the signing. I can go back now and start reading everything that I just clicked to accept. And I can still reject it, or I can accept it. And I think, too, I'm going to click here to Done Accept All. Like any good program, I still have the opportunity to stay and review. Authentisign wants to give your signing participant that option to stay and review, to read the contract, to make sure that they understand what they're signing. Once they have, they click Complete Signing, and they are done with their portion of the signing process. When, I should say, not if, more like when there are multiple signing participants, Authentisign will now generate that invitation, deliver it to the second signing participant. When the second one's complete, it will generate and deliver to the third signing participant. So it will go through that linear process to deliver the invitation to all of those signing participants. Little thank you for using Authentisign page here. Opportunity for this participant to come back and review the progress, re-log in to see the progress of the signing. As the creator, you receive a notification that that signing participant has completed their steps. And in this case, too, we also, because it was the one and final, we got that final signed document. Everyone who participates in the signing gets a copy of the final signed document. A final sign is also delivered back to our TransactionDesk account. So I got a feeling it's going to ask me to log back in. I'm in the top right-hand corner of the screen. I can click on TransactionDesk Lite to go back to our transaction file. Oh, good. I was not logged out. I'm going to re-access our transactions. So I want to show the throughput from Authentisign back to our transaction file. Clicking on the Shirley Havenshire single-family listing. We'll see now in the document section, we've looked at details, contacts, and forms. Documents is that next tab. Documents to retain, for state-required retention periods, the signed, ratified contracts. Authentisign documents are delivered right back to your signing. You can scan and upload. I would like to upload documents, email or fax documents outbound. You can also receive inbound faxing using the fax-back cover sheets. This is the last feature that we'll talk about. We're already screaming past our hour mark, but just want to point out this fax-back cover sheet. Ways to get documents back into your online file, scanning and uploading, automatic delivery from Authentisign, faxing services so that you can, your clients, your cooperating agents, your home inspectors, whomever you offer these cover sheets to, can use them to fax back to your transaction files. Hopefully the kind of the function is in the name, fax back cover sheet. And it all really boils down to this barcode technology, because everybody uses the same toll-free number. It is a generic toll-free number, unlimited toll-free faxing. Senders use this as the cover sheet. They put it on top of all those other paper pages, and they put it on the automatic feed tray of the fax machine. They dial the number, and they click fax. Our receiving fax reads this barcode, reads the barcode, converts the paper fax to PDF, then delivers that PDF to your online transaction file. Excuse me. So what these what these cover sheets really do, they convert your fax machines into scanners. You feed your fax machines paper pages, the fax cover sheets and DocBox service converts those paper pages to PDF documents, delivers those PDF documents directly to your online transaction files. Once the fax has been received into your transaction file, you get an email notification that the fax has been successfully received. Lots of email notifications generated by TransactionDesk to keep you notified as to the actions and progress of your transaction files. That really is the fourth and what we have time for final component. Clicking here to return back the documents of our TransactionDesk online transaction file using the Lite view. I'm going to go all the way back to the home link. Going back to home, I'm going to re-raise this audio message. Very thankful of the opportunity to present. I'm going to be very mindful of everybody's time after we've already gone past a little bit, but also offer some toll-free support and other websites and email addresses, toll-free, basically for questions that are not how do I questions is training. Why isn't this working? That would be a tech support call. Toll-free 800-668-8768. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tech support opportunities there. The how do I questions. How do I send a fax? How do I use the cover sheet? How do I start a file? YouTube.com/Instanet Webinars has all of our recorded content, anything from 1 to 3 minute little tutorials, how do I sessions, all the way up to 60-minute full overviews. So our YouTube site has all of that content, all those answers to all those how do I questions. If you would like to schedule a webinar for your team or for your office, we offer them for free. You can check out our online calendar at tungle.me/webinar-greg. We can tailor those sessions specifically for your office, the time that you have available and the content that you want to cover. And they're also more interactive, where we can talk to each other. We can discuss implementation strategies to make sure that everyone's going to get the highest and best use of their newest member benefit. So with that said, thank you again so much for the opportunity to present. And until we webinar again, I hope that you have a tremendous, tremendous day.